The majority of our lives is built around words. Just think about how many words you use each and every day. Some of them are words said out loud, like when you greet someone in the hallway or talk with friends at the lunch table or share a conversation with your mom before bed. And some of them are words that aren't spoken, like words typed in a text message or read in a book or posted on social media. Sometimes they're thoughts in your head or words communicated through sign language. Words help us connect to other people, and I think that makes them pretty powerful. What's cool about words is that we have a lot of freedom when it comes to them. For better or worse, we have a choice. We can choose to use any words that we want whenever that we want. If we want to give a compliment, we can choose to use kind words. If we want to make someone laugh, we can choose to use words that are funny. If we want to make somebody mad, then we can choose words that will upset them. Of course, there may be some consequences for using some of the words that we choose to use. When we call someone a name or tell a dirty joke or make fun of someone who's different or even drop a cuss word or two into our conversation, we might get into some trouble or hurt someone's feelings. But at the end of the day, we still have the choice to use those words or not. We still have freedom when it comes to our words. And I don't know about you, but that makes me wonder this. Am I using my freedom in the best way when it comes to my words? Now, here's why I think this whole conversation about words is so tricky, because if we're honest, most of us are probably thinking something like this. Is this really that big of a deal? We all get that there are good words and there are bad words. We know there are certain things that we're just not supposed to say. But what's a bad word to one person might not be all that bad to someone else. So really, who's to say whether or not we cuss or tell dirty jokes? Is it really that big of a deal to yell names at someone that we're mad at or sing along with song lyrics that might be offensive to somebody? I mean, if I think the words that I'm saying are okay, then it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks, right? Again, I know this is tricky because honestly, all of us struggle with our words in one way or another. There are all kinds of reasons for why we use our words the way that we do. Maybe we hear our family say them at home, so we repeat them ourselves. If the adults in our lives are talking like that, then why can't we? Or maybe we use certain words because we want to fit in. Everyone else is saying them, and we think that saying them will help us to be accepted or included. Or maybe we think that it's okay to use certain words because they make people laugh. I mean, can't we just say, I'm just kidding, after whatever it is that we say that may or may not be okay, and that makes it okay? Or maybe we use certain words, but we don't really know what they mean. We say them because we hear them, but if we're honest, we don't really know what it is that we're saying. Or maybe we think it's okay to say certain words because we've heard Christians or people at church say them. And if they can say those things, why can't we, right? Well, here's what I want to say to all of that. I think oftentimes we're focusing on the wrong things. See, it's not really the words themselves that are the biggest problem. I think it's the way that we use those words that gives them power. Let me show you what I mean. I don't think she should get that grade. 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 I just read the same exact sentence 4 times. You'd think that the same sentence would have the same meaning no matter how you say it, right? But as I emphasized, a different word, the meaning of the sentence changed entirely. The power I had wasn't necessarily in the actual words I said, it was the way that I said them. The way I used my words changed the entire sentence. And see, the way we use our words is super important. We have so much power when it comes to our words. That name you called your sister last night, maybe it's not that bad of a word, but you knew it would really hurt her feelings. So you used it on purpose to do just that. Or maybe a joke that you told about a kid in your class seemed okay, but when they got upset about it afterwards, you realized maybe it wasn't okay. Maybe that cuss word that you shouted at the opposing team, or the song lyric you quoted on your Instagram, or the nickname you gave that new kid at school, they don't seem all that bad on their own, but when someone heard you say it or saw you post it, you suddenly felt embarrassed. That's because we realize that the words that we say have power. They have the potential to harm someone else or hurt them or offend them. Knowing our words have power means that we recognize the impact they can have on both ourselves and others. The words we use can hurt someone else. Even if they don't tell you or even if you don't mean to, Someone could be hurt or offended by the words that you say. And when you say something without thinking or even meaning it, you're allowing people to have an opinion about you and who you are. They're forming what they think about you based on the words they hear you say. So what do I mean? Our words actually do have a lot of power, and that's why we need to think about it when we say the things that we say. Thankfully, we can find some help on understanding the power of our words in the Bible. And we're going to take a look this week at the book of James. It was written by a guy named James. And what's interesting about James is that he was actually the half-brother of Jesus. And that means he got an up-close, personal look at the way Jesus lived his life. So when James wrote about the power of our words, I think we can trust his judgment. So here's what he had to say. In the same way, the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And among all the parts of the body, the tongue is a flame of fire. It is a whole world of wickedness, corrupting your entire body. It can set your whole life on fire, for it is set on fire by hell itself. Whoa, that's a little dramatic, right? Well, think about the power of words here. Everybody has something to say about the words that we say. So in order to really get his point across, James chose really dramatic language and really harsh words that would get our attention. And honestly, I think it worked. Words like fire and wickedness and hell itself, they really get me listening. If you're anything like me, those words may make you a little bit uncomfortable. And some of you, if you're like me growing up, may hear the word hell and think, isn't that a cuss word? I think it's safe to say that James was pretty serious about the words that he chose to use here. So what exactly is his point? Well, I think James wanted us to know how powerful our words really are. We all know that the tongue is a tiny part of the human body. It may not be a body part that we think a whole lot about. I mean, it's kind of gross and weird looking, but from that small, strange looking part of who we are can come a lot of destruction. Even the smallest spark, just one word, has the potential to start a fire so big and bad, it takes over our whole lives. With just one word, we have the ability to bring destruction and devastation. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen the damage a fire can cause, but you can probably imagine how a big, bad, and terrible thing that it is. Fires reduce even the strongest structures and the most beautiful landscapes to nothing but ash and rubble. And a lot of times that destruction causes permanent damage that we can't undo. Like for instance, let's take the example of a toothbrush and toothpaste. The toothpaste is happy in its tube. It's just waiting to be used when we need to brush our teeth, right? And when we use the toothpaste the way that it's supposed to be used, it's super helpful and it's good for us. But what about when you don't use it the way that it's meant to be used? When you get all crazy and careless with it? It's a huge mess, and that isn't helpful to anyone. So let's just put it back in the tube. That'll fix everything, right? Getting the toothpaste back into its tube is impossible, isn't it? No matter how hard you try, you can't get it back to how it once was. So what's my point? The tube of toothpaste is just like our words. When they haven't been spoken, they have the potential to do a lot of good, like when the little bit of toothpaste was placed on the toothbrush. But when our words come out with anger or frustration or without even thinking, well, then it's just like this mess of toothpaste that's all over the place. The paste came out, but it can't be put back in. And when hurtful, mean, or disrespectful words come out of our mouths, they can create harm and hurt that's just permanent. And just like the toothpaste, once the words leave our mouths, we can't put them back in. Our words matter. The lies we tell, the names we call, the jokes we make, the insults we sling, the lyrics we repeat. Well, like James told us, if we're not careful, all these words we use can turn our relationships, our reputations, our families, and our futures into nothing but ash and rubble. Like the toothpaste, these words will leave a mess that can't be fixed. That's why we have to be less careless with our words. We have to be more careful. We have to pay attention to the power of our words. How do we do that? Well, look back one more time at the wisdom from the Bible with me. In the book of Psalms, we find a lot of prayers and songs written by a guy named King David. And this prayer specifically is one that we can use for ourselves when it comes to our words. Take control of what I say, O Lord, and guard my lips. So if we know our words have power, then we have to ask God for help in using our words well. We have to work on guarding our tongues and mouths so that the words that come out of them aren't words that start fires. Words that turn the things and people we care about into ash and rubble. We have to work on controlling our words. And listen, I'm not asking you to change everything you say right here and now. I'm not even asking you to stand here and tell you what you can and can't say. But what I am asking you to do is take some steps to help you pay attention to the power of your words this week. So first, think about your last words. Look at your last 10 texts, or the last few comments you left on social media, or the last few songs you listened to, or even the last several things you said to your close friends and family. Then ask yourself, what's the power in these words? Are they bringing destruction, ash, rubble? Are they hurtful? Would you be embarrassed if I showed them right now to everyone here online? If the answer to any of that is yes, then you need to pause. You need to ask God for forgiveness and help in guarding your words more wisely going forward. Maybe you even need to ask for forgiveness from the person you said the words to. Part of paying attention to the power of our words means recognizing when we're using them in ways that are hurtful to other people. So start there. Then I want you to take a step to make a change. How can you better control the words coming from your mouth so that they don't leave behind ash and rubble? Maybe for you, that means thinking before you speak. A simple 10-second pause before the words come out of your mouth can give you time to think about the impact of what you're about to say. Maybe for you, that means not saying something that you know is wrong, no matter who is around. Sure, you can drop a cuss word when your parents aren't listening, or you can call that girl that name when she's blocked on your Instagram page. You can even make that joke that you know is not appropriate. You may have the freedom to say any of that, but controlling your words means using your freedom to not say it at all, regardless of who will or will not hear it. Maybe it means choosing to replace your old words with new words that are better for building people up. Maybe start by taking time to pray as David did in the Psalms that we looked at today. Ask God to help guard your mouth and to guard your words so that the impact will be for good. Ask Him to help you pay attention to the power of your words. And paying attention to the power of our words is something that takes time and practice. It doesn't just happen overnight. So stick with it even when it's tempting to stop caring. All right, thanks for tuning in and joining us this morning. Sit tight and we'll get started with our main service here in just a minute.